Hey, talking about polygraphs. Hopefully, I didn't check that to see if that was saw in the screen here. Polygraphs. Alright, I guess I'm in the screen. I got a couple questions about polygraph, whether they're used, do you believe in them, what's your opinion? We used them in law enforcement. It's funny, the courts won't accept them because they're not scientific, but in order to get hired by a lot of police departments, they make you pass a polygraph. So I think I've taken 3 polygraphs, and for 3 different agencies. I don't remember if I did one for the FBI or U.S. Marshals. I don't remember if they did, or they just took the one we used for the PD, and then for a couple PDs, maybe 3 or 4. What is a polygraph? The first original polygraph long ago was invented by the Chinese. It was called a polygraph as a lie detector. But the first lie detector was invented by the Chinese, and they used to put, well, there was 2 actually. There was one where they put rice in your mouth, and they asked you questions, and if the rice wasn't moist or wasn't softer at the end of the questioning, they figured you were lying, because when you lie and your heart rate goes up, your respiratory goes up, your emotions go up, you get flushed face, your heart goes up, your saliva glands shut down. So you can't, which is why people who are lying, or they're nervous, or they're really upset or emotional, they'll get dry lips, they'll get dry, they need something to drink. When you go into fight or flight, you want to drink because your mouth dries up. So that was one of the first polygraph, was rice in your mouth if it was moist. Now obviously it's not scientific, but I'm sure a lot of people got their heads cut off because rice was still hard when it came out and there was no moisture in it. Another polygraph they used to use was they used a horse. And they had a tent, and the king said, you must go in and grab this mule or horse's tail, and then you must tell the truth, answer the question after you grab his tail, and if you're lying, the mule or horse will kick you, and we'll see you come flying out of the tent. If you're telling the truth, the horse won't kick you. And you would go in the tent and you would come out, and they would know if you're lying or not. Now, the mule wasn't kicking anybody. What they did is they put black tar on the tail of the mule or the horse, and the people that went in and actually grabbed the tail had black on their hands when they came out. It was a dark tent. So they actually had black on their hands, so they knew they were telling the truth, or they assumed they were telling, "Hi, Mookie. What are you doing? What are you doing, little Mookie? Woo! Say hi, you tubies." So if you had black on your hands, they figured you were telling the truth because you actually went in and grabbed the horse. If you tried to be slick because nobody was in the tent but you and the horse, and you went in there and you didn't grab the tail and came out and said he didn't kick me, then they knew you were lying because you didn't grab the horse's tail. So that's kind of the early ways, and it still kind of goes on the same philosophy as the polygraphs of today. So the polygraphs of today, they put something on your chest here that gets your breathing. As you inhale and exhale, it gets the rhythm and it tells, and if you take a big breath, your chest expands a little bit, it stretches it out, and the sensor picks that up. Another thing is they put a little sweat gland on you that tells what your skin conductivity is, or how much moisture is coming through. It's an electrical probe or something, and I think it also connects your pulse. But I think it's something for sweat. And then they do blood pressure, because your blood pressure goes up and down. And all those things are just physiological things that happen when somebody is supposedly telling the truth or telling a lie. Now, do I believe 100% lie detectors? No. I think probably 80 to 90% of a polygraph is the examiner. It's all up to opinion and what he believes, how he does the test, what environment it is. One polygraph I did, I was in a room looking at a blank wall. Another polygraph I did, he didn't have me looking at a blank wall, which isn't good, because now as I'm glancing around or I'm answering questions, I may look at something on the desk, I may look at a picture, I may get some sort of reaction when I'm looking, so that could skew the test. The only thing a polygraph does is it picks up changes, and the theory is that if you're telling the truth, everything will remain constant when you answer the question, and there'll be no change. Well, the problem with that is, and some of the countermeasures are, is you can move your foot, you can move your muscle, you can take a bigger breath. If you take a big breath on a question you answer truthfully, I think they call them a control test, or they usually give you a couple questions that they know what the answer is, like what's your name, or where were you born, or what's your date of birth. So they know the answer to that, so they get the readings on what the readings are when you answer truthfully, and then they'll have you lie to one question. And then they'll tell what it is when you lie. They'll have you intentionally lie. You know, like for me, they'd say, you have a full head of hair that's dark black. And I answered yes. Well, according to them, the theory would be that the sensors would go, because I'm lying, and they would be able to tell what it looks like when I lie, and then when I said what my name was, what it looks like when I tell the truth on my name. So that's kind of how a lie detector works. Again, it's up to the examiner. The examiner can read them anyway. It's totally subjective. It's totally subjective up to the administrator. So if I want to say, you know what, when I answered this question, I saw a little bit, it didn't really mean nothing. I think he was telling the truth. I didn't hear anything. His demeanor was good. Before they give you a polygraph, the big part of the polygraph is they give you kind of what's called a pre-test or pre-questions, where they may ask you 20 or 30 or 50 questions. Now, your actual polygraph may only be 5 or 10 questions. And the key questions may be, were you honest with all your answers on this polygraph? Were you being deception, were you, I can't even think of the damn word now. Were you being deceptive when you answered any of the questions? And so they'll have a couple questions that kind of cover the whole thing. And then if they have certain areas, like if I was taking a polygraph for a homicide, did you kill the person? Do you know who killed him? Did you fire the gun? Things direct questions. So a polygraph, I mean, a lot of people say, you know what, if you're telling the truth, why not take one? Well, I've taken them, and I mean, I didn't like them, and I was nervous, and you get all these things hooked up to you, and you're naturally going to have an emotional thing, and if you have any thoughts of anything while you're doing that at all, your mind wanders at all, it's going to give a reaction or something. Your heart rate may move up, your sweat may go, and it'll look like deceptive or not being truthful. And most polygraphs that I get, I rarely get 100% telling the truth on everything. Rarely do I get that. Normally you get, he was truthful on most everything, had a little deception here, a little deception here. So it's very easy, because it's not absolute, and you can't say he's lying or he's telling the truth. So they've always got this light deception, minor deception, some deception, no deception. So no deception evidently kind of means you're telling the truth. Deception means that you're either hiding something, you weren't telling the truth, or there was something going on that you had some sort of reaction. They tell you when you take a polygraph, sit still, because if you move, the signals pick up. So if I have to cough, sneeze, scratch, I have a twitch, I have anything goes on, the machine back there is doing that. If that happens on a critical question, it may show deception. There have been a lot of people that have failed a polygraph and has later been told or been found to be telling the truth. There are people that have passed a polygraph and later been found they were lying. So that's where the deception. Now, personally, I think it's a good indicator. It's a good investigative tool. It kind of leads us on a right track. If we got somebody we're trying to eliminate, usually with missing kids, sometimes they'll polygraph the parents, because you want to kind of like get rid of them as a suspect, so you're not wasting time trying to figure out what they were doing, all that. So sometimes they will do those, and it kind of just gives the cops, the investigators, a better feeling, kind of like, okay, I don't want to waste my time. Now, obviously, if your chart's going up and down, you're kind of deceptive, it looks like you're doing countermeasures, and there's all kind of things they find out, then we're like, you know what, this guy looks like he has something to hide, he's not being truthful, etc. So, for a polygraph, I mean, they have I don't know how, it's relatively new, I'm going to say probably within the last 10 years, a thing called a voice stress analyzer. And what they do is they record your answers and they read the megahertz or some sort of hertz on when you're talking. And supposedly when you aren't being truthful, the vocal cords constrict, or it changes the tone of your answer. So if I said yes, 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 all those would give different answers. So again, they would do the pretest. I would answer yes to a few questions, but if my voice changed at any of those, it would show deception. Now, for a while there, they were saying this is great. Now, we had one we had a couple guys trained in one of the agencies I worked at on this, and one of them was pretty good. I trusted. The other one was a complete flake. He would always tell you what you wanted to hear, and all the cops knew it. So if they thought somebody was a suspect and they wanted him to fail the test, they would send it to the knucklehead who nobody had confidence in, but because they always know he'd come back, always not being truthful. And so, I mean, if you wanted a real test, then you would send the other guy who was more credible. So again, it comes back to the administrator. I mean, you know, this knucklehead I'm talking about doing his door voice, his daughter's boyfriend was trying to get a job or something with us, and there was an issue about him involved in crime or something, and he goes, oh, well, I gave him a voice stress and he passed. I mean, it's very subjective, and the person giving the exam can almost make it what he wants. He can pass somebody that fails, he can fail somebody that passes. It has a lot to do with the pre-question. When they bring you in for polygraph, the first thing they try to do is scare the crap out of you and tell you how great the polygraph is and how it's never wrong and how you better tell us now. And a lot of people will confess before a polygraph because they hear all this, they're like, crap, man, I know I'm going to fail it. And they end up confessing or admitting something. So probably more people have given themselves up before a polygraph than a polygraph has determined that they were lying. But is it a tool? Yeah. Would I stake my life on it? No. Would the courts accept it? No. Now, obviously, if a guy takes it, sometimes the prosecution will allow the defense to take it, even though they know it's not going to be in court. But the defense says, look, my guy's telling the truth. He's willing to take a polygraph. Why don't you give him a polygraph? If he passes, leave him alone. Or cut him a deal. Or stop being such a hard ass and trying to send him to prison. So the prosecution may go, you know what, give him a polygraph. Let's see if he passes. If he fails, then we'll know we're on the right track. If he passes, well, then maybe we'll look elsewhere. So sometimes it's used that way. Again, to kind of clear somebody more than to absolute prove that you did it. You can't really use a polygraph like to find locations. It's not like, I mean, I guess you could, but that's not how it's used. It's basically, it's kind of closed-ended questions. And the difference between an open and a closed-ended question, open-ended question, you want the person to describe and talk about it. On a closed-end, I just want a yes or no answer. So on the polygraph, all your questions are very closed. And they can't be complex questions. I can't go, did you get in the blue car and drive to the hotel, and after you got to the hotel, went up to room 202 and shot the person? That's a complex question, and there's really not a yes or no answer. I mean, there could be a yes or no answer, but there's too many issues. You would have to break that down to 4 questions. Did you drive to the hotel? Yes or no? Did you go upstairs to room 202? Yes or no? Did you, so you can't ask complex questions, and they have to be closed-ended, yes or no. You can't say, do you know anything about the murder? Yeah, I know that I don't know anything, and I was there, and I heard a bang. That polygraph can't pick all that up, because when you're talking, all the things are going, you're moving, your heart rate changes. So it's very short yes or no questions. If you ever have a chance to take one, you can take it for GP. Can they be beat? Yeah, I think a person that has no emotion, that lies their whole life, and that doesn't care, I think they'll pass the test. Because, I mean, I've seen people that'll look at you straight in the eye and just cold-blooded lie, and I'm like, man, I kind of believe them. And later I find out they were lying straight to my face, and I'm like, holy cow. And I'm pretty skeptical. So if they got me to believe them, chicken, if you go peck that little stand, I'm going to have chicken for dinner. So, is a polygraph perfect? No. Is it an indicator? Yeah. Is it an investigative tool? Yeah. I personally wouldn't take one in an event unless I was being accused of something by somebody and I wanted them to take it. And then I'll go, I would probably agree to take one. Look, I'll take one if that person takes one, but I'm not going to be the only one that takes one. And then the polygraph goes, well, you know what, I kind of got a little deception on this one, and I didn't really get it clear he was telling the truth. Well, now all I've done is hurt myself. And unfortunately, a polygraph, it can either hurt or help you. If you pass it clear, you can't use it in court, but the prosecution, the people trying to go after you, the cops, the investigators will probably lean away from you and not focus on you only. So if you're innocent, should you take one? I don't know. If you take one and you fail, or you show deception, or you're nervous and you have some sort of thing, I don't see how that's going to help you. But it's a personal choice. I'm not sure. A couple questions, just like would I take one, or do I think they're accurate? If the examiner's good and he doesn't have a dog in the hunt, I would say they're good. Unfortunately, in the government system, the prosecutors have their favorite lie detector people. They're usually cops. They're usually people in the government system. They don't get... Defense attorneys has their favorite that are anti-government, anti-cops. So, you know, to find somebody totally neutral that basically doesn't really care on the outcome and is just going to give you a good test, be pretty difficult. And then if he does give you a test, one side or the other is not going to like him. Oh, well, he's not ours, so we don't know. We don't really count him. We don't like the way it's scored. Well, let me see his chart. Well, we think he scored the chart wrong, because everybody can score their chart differently. You know, point here, it went here. Oh, I'll give him 2 points for this, 3 points. Oh, yeah. Do all the numbers, and the next thing you know, this guy's saying he was deceptive. Another guy reads the chart and says, no, I don't think he was deceptive. Another guy reads and goes, man, he was lying his ass off. So, again, it's all subjective to who the examiner is. So are they good or bad? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I was investigating a crime and I had somebody I was suspect of, I would like them to take it, only just to kind of see the results. If they bombed it completely, then I'd be like, okay, this guy's probably a liar. If they bombed some of it, I'd be like, you know, I'm not sure. If they only bombed a couple critical issues and they did pretty good on everything else, then I might go, you know what, they probably are involved some way or they know something. So that's my spiel on polygraphs. I don't know if that helps or hurts. If you got any questions, put them in the comments and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Smokey, you laid there the whole time like a good kitty. Did you eat that, Mousy? Look at me when I'm talking to you. All right, we'll end that there.